from what I've seen, the tentative contract is going to go back to the workers really soon and be voted on. And it seems like there's been some pretty serious gains. Like there's a commitment to put AC in the trucks. Everybody gets a little bit of a raise, maybe not as much as everyone had hoped for, but it seems like there's still a continuation of, as much as the owners could possibly manage to keep that divide between the part-time and the full-time and more senior labor. So I don't know if you wanted to talk about that, and if you also had thoughts on would it, I don't know if the co-op model really applies because it's already a giant capitalist business. But yeah, just you want to update us on the contract real quick?
Yeah, so we got a tentative agreement last week, at the end of last week, which was kind of a surprise to everyone. The negotiations broke down on July 5th, I think, when the company walked away from the table. They were offering $17 an hour starting wage to part-timers and said there was nothing more to give. So strike was looking more and more likely as we got down to the wire without a tentative agreement, and then the union came through and endorsed this agreement with $21 an hour starting wage for part-timers. Other than that, it seems like a really great contract. This is my second contract fight I've been through at UPS. We have contracts that span 5 years. In 2018, the contract was being negotiated by the Jimmy Hoffa Jr. regime, who had been in power for, I think, 17, 18 years at that point, and had just pushed concessionary contract after concessionary contract. The last time we struck was in 1997, and really got some major gains out of that. But the 2018 contract imposed this two-tier driver system where people were making $10 less an hour for doing the same work. And a number of things made it totally inadequate. We were told, oh, this is the best contract ever, which I've heard. Every contract has been called the best contract we've ever been offered. And I and many others really stood strongly against this, pushed for a no vote, campaigned really hard in this period we're now between getting the tentative agreement and actually voting on it. And we did manage to get a majority of the workforce to vote the contract down, say, no, it's not adequate. We'd already had a strike authorization vote months earlier of like 97% saying we're willing to strike if we don't like the contract. And Hoffa Jr. was able to impose this loophole in the Teamster Constitution that said, well, you didn't quite get to 50% voter turnout, so we're going to impose the contract on you anyway. So that was kind of the end of his career. Everyone knew he was on the way out after that, because even at my local, where there was a lot of Hoffa loyalists and they were pushing a yes vote, everyone realized that was just something that couldn't be accepted. So he didn't run for re-election this last time. He did pick a successor. We had the reform movement in the Teamsters were pushing O'Brien and Zuckerman, who eventually won in the landslide with a lot of work from organizers around the country. And so they really came in with a mandate to get us a really, really strong contract and to be willing to strike if we didn't get that. So what we have now is great in almost every respect. We've gotten rid of that two-tier driving system. We're getting AC in the cars. Eventually, the new cars, as they cycle into the system. I don't know how long it'll take until every driver really has AC. Everyone is getting a raise, but we're not getting, as part-timers, who I'm part-timer, we're 60% of the workforce at UPS, we're not getting the pay we were told that was going to be the standard. O'Brien said he wasn't going to settle for less than $25. Now we're looking at $21 an hour. So there's a lot of mixed feelings, mostly divided between part-time and full-time workers. I think the last contract cost UPS $13 billion, and this one is costing them $30 billion. So it is a massive increase in a lot of ways, not just in wages. It's not at all at the level of the 2018 contract, where you could say this is just purely a concessionary contract. There's no real concessions in there. It's just not quite as good as we would want it to be as part-timers on the pay scale. So it's hard to say where it's going to go, whether there's going to be a strong vote no campaign like there was last time and the time before. it may not be at that level where there's enough disappointment in it that the no vote is that strong. It's, I'm telling people to vote their conscience on it, and we are the majority of the workforce is the part-timers, but there's UPS has this what they call internally this well, it's a strategy to burn out workers, to get them to quit as soon as possible. There's massive turnover. Yeah. I heard a number a while ago from the supervisor at my hub that was in charge of retention that they had like 150% turnover. So they want to get people out there, they want to get people to, break their backs and go as hard as they can, and then burn out before they get to their 70 days where they're officially represented by the union, or before 9 months when they qualify for health care, or at any point after that to, get them out before they have seniority and can have some choice in their position and get those yearly raises. So while, there's like 340,000 workers represented under this contract, it's the largest private sector contract in the country. And the majority of those are part-timers. There's just a ton, there's some people like me that make a career out of it, and there's a lot of people who just like come in and out. So they're not as invested in the contract, in the union, and so they don't turn out in as high of numbers for the vote. So we'll see how it goes. At this point, I would expect that the vote's probably going to be yes, and we're probably going to avoid a strike. And it's not terrible news. In fact, in a lot of ways, it's a huge victory for Teamsters across the country and for the working class in general. It's just not quite adequate in some areas, but not a concession.